Hey everybody, welcome. I'm Deborah Westbrook. Thanks for joining on Facebook on the replay, and thanks for joining on YouTube. We're going to talk about today the Savior complex. What does that mean? How does it take the focus off of ourself and everything that's within us and put it on anything that's external, the fragmented parts of ourself, calling out, we need help here, we need help there, rather than being still and focusing on what is within us. We're looking here, there, and everywhere. And distraction, as I've been saying for a long time, is a power play to keep you focused. So let me wait a minute as people join. Let me know how you're doing today. I'm on the central coast of California where the weather, it seems like it's a cooler summer. I know the rest of the country is struggling with heat, but it doesn't appear to be. Of course, though, if you don't know, we get a lot of fog in play in June and July. So I'll get focused in a minute. I hope you're enjoying the day. So I've called this the Savior complex. I was in Christian ministry for a long time, and I'm going to show you the things that really touch my heart. So let's get started. When I thought about talking about this, I kind of wrote in my journal the direction that I wanted to take. So this is what I wrote. There's very little reliance on what is within us. Why is this? Well, we've been taught to see ourselves through a fragmented lens and not within a unified whole. We've been taught to see ourselves fragmented in so many ways, and those fragments call out to us in lack or needing something that we should look for within us, but we don't. So we place an internal standard upon ourselves, and within the fragment of our being, it's an internal competition for attention. This side calls out, or this side calls out at any given moment. For instance, if you're a mom, at any given moment, if you're a mom and you're taking care of your family, you're taking care of children, you work a job, there's a fragmentation that you're looking at all the different parts of your day, wondering if you're going to get that done. And there's a certain sense sometimes of lack that you haven't finished it, you haven't done it. Well, that's the same thing in the spiritual realm. When you look at all the fragmented parts of us, you never see the unified whole, that the answers generally lie within you if you're still and to know that. So you set up an internal standard within you that it's competing. All these different parts are competing for attention, and you're looking for an answer to subdue it, whether you're anxious, whether you're nervous, or whatever you're doing. So it actually says, calls attention to itself. Look this way. This is where you're lacking. So we've never been taught about the unified wholeness of who we are. And we're in constant distraction, and we're in constant comparison at times. So we're sometimes the fragments in our life, as we're unifying and ascending, they dictate the process of life that's bound in time. So each fragmented cell within us, this fragmented places of our life, they call out for attention, and then they call out, they need an answer. So we are overwhelmed at times in this changing of everything on the planet. We're overstimulated and we're under compensated. Hence the need for a Savior. When all those things call out and you're just tired, or you've been raised in a religious background or whatever, you're calling out for a Savior that doesn't recognize that the Savior is within you. The biggest lie that we've believed in Christianity was the duality that everything is outside of ourselves. It doesn't make sense. So I no longer subscribe to a Savior reality in any measure in my life, whether that involves big pharma, whether that involves tech, whether that involves government, or whether that involves religion. I look to myself holistically first and foremost for healing, not discounting that sometimes I need certain things. I look to myself. I do not believe anything the government says, nothing. They're two sides playing the same game. Behind it is control and narcissism. So I don't listen to them. I don't listen to the fact that I'm going to get my identity from tech, or I'm going to subscribe to something with AI to put a nanotechnology in me to be me. So I don't subscribe to a personal savior, but that just doesn't have to do with religion. That also has to do with anything in any way, shape, or form that is coming at you trying to decrease the essence of who you are within. So the personal reality is I always look within myself and I become deeply aware in an intuitive flow of what I'm telling myself. So let me define save. First of all, this is going to be just a personal, maybe 25 minutes, just to encourage you. To save means to restore from danger or some possible harm. So what religion does is they create the narrative that you need something and then they supply the solution. This is the biggest con job there ever was in the essence of life. They're going to create the narrative that you need something, walk that aisle, don't subscribe to sin or subscribe to sin. And it's a constant awareness of looking outside yourself for the answers that are within. Never once in all my years of ministry was I ever encouraged to focus within. It was always that savior and what I could do to help people or convince them that was coming from without. So to save, if you look at it in many different ways, it means a mediator. It means the government, religion, technology, big pharma. There's always a mediator in this country that's going to tell you that you don't know enough and they know more than you, and how dare you listen to yourself over them. So like I said, they create a narrative to get people to believe, and then they provide the solution. So what religion does is it creates the narrative, which is totally false, of an external heaven and hell that we go through one day. Then they provide the solution by an external application, raising your hand, walking the aisle. Once again, it is taking the focus off yourself. So let's talk about what the savior complex is. The savior complex is when, let's put it in psychological terms, and then I'll put it in something that is more applicable to us. It is when you value yourself as the sole source of help for someone. Ever done street evangelism? I remember walking the streets of San Francisco when we started a church there way back when, in the Assemblies of God, and we used to march those streets and convince everybody that we were the source of their answer, that we could present them to the one and only Savior that there was. We never took anything else into account. This is just one example. So we saw ourselves as perpetuating the Savior complex, but let's look at it a little bit of a different way. What if that's being used to create a narrative that you need something outside yourself? What if as an individual, I'm constantly bombarded with a general energy that says you're not enough? They don't even have to say it. They'll say, you're not enough. Follow this path. Trust the science. Trust what I'm saying. Why? Because you don't know enough. You're too stupid. You don't have enough knowledge. This is the narrative right now in the United States on so many levels, and it will take critical thinking and realizing that the essence within yourself will direct you in an intuitive path of healing, of wholeness, and of ascension. So the savior complex, there's no boundaries. And I'll go into the specifics of what I mean by their whole method is almost a narcissistic method to demean who you are. There is no way, no saviors coming in politics. Hello? Doesn't matter if daddy or mama are not going to solve the problem. It doesn't matter who's elected. It's a scam, folks. It's a distraction. There's no savior coming. Sometimes in seeking, if you look at the news, or if you even look at the commercials, every other commercial in the United States is one for Big Pharma, who pours in $24 billion into the advertising section every year. They're saying, you need us. They're not going to say, oh, we're going to need the money. They're going to say, oh, take this, and life is going to be better. So they are focused on the fragmented parts of your reality rather than telling you are a holistic, divine human. There's so much else, but I want to keep it simple today. So when you have this, there's no limits on the time or energy that will be put out there into your life to convince you. And because people are overwhelmed, they're lacking in discernment. Do you realize, this is like kind of the open door to a whole new range of topics I'm going to talk at. Do you know what's happened with children's brains since they've been scrolling? What's happened to their short-term memory in relation to their long-term memory? Do you know the anxiety that's called, that the depression that's caused? Well, this is all a control mechanism to some extent. We'll talk about that in the future. So the proverbial they, are the medical establishment, big pharma, their government, their religion, their tech. But you folks, cut the crap. You are powerful. You are brilliant. You were created by this incredible divine mind, if you call this divine mind God or source, to co-create in this atmosphere in which you have incarnate for such a time as this. And it is a passion in me that we are supposed to be moving in an individualized beauty of creative expression. So, what if this idea of needing a savior is turned around in some way that government, tech, the medical establishment, and most definitely religion perpetuates a narrative that you alone cannot live in sovereignty, but you need an intermediary. You know, after studying science for so long and studying quantum, the very fact that there would be people still believing that blows my mind. Everything contradicts that narrative. You are not separated. You are divinely entangled within the divine mind. You are unable to be separated to where you need an intermediary. You don't need one. So what they do is all these organizations and all these structures, they start out by proving that they're empathic. You know, like, we're going to fight for you. We're going to bring America back to where it belongs. And if you're religion, we're going to show you how to get to heaven. And if you're tech, we're going to make your life easy. And if you're government, we're going to give you Medicaid and all kinds of help. And all the while, they're choosing the narrative. And what they're doing is they're locking you down into a savior complex where you consistently feel that things are coming from outside of you. It's not that way, folks. And as we ascend, and man, things are going to start shifting dramatically lately. That's all I'm going to say. You have to know what it is you believe. You have to have the time and the focus to settle down, to learn to discern, to learn to critically think, to be silent, and to just go within and know. This is just a preliminary for the future. So when an organization of any kind controls your perception, they then control your beliefs. And when they control your beliefs, they control your action. And when they control your action, they control your life. I cannot even believe the level of fragmentation that is in this nation right now over every possible topic. That is a fragmented reality of people choosing a tribalistic mindset of how they're going to get better, whether it's through this way or this way. And I never thought I would say it, but you know, I have nothing to lose. The government lies. They've always lied. There's no goodness. It doesn't matter what party you vote for. They ain't going to do a damn thing, folks. It's time to ascend. It's time to rise up and cut the tie that binds you to that and find out who you are. So the established savior complex of these organizations have a secret agenda that is total control of you. We saw it. You may disagree with me, but when you had the Beetlejuice in you, as Frank Jacobs said, nobody's talking about the consequences of trusting people that said it was okay. The rise of suicide, the rise of heart problems, the rise of autism, the rise of miscarriages. If you don't seek out the truth, folks, you're not going to get it by just standing around looking. And when you're divinely human, you know who you are. I'm so not interested in gaining influence anymore. I want to speak to you because, folks, something's coming that's going to knock this nation on its ass. And there's no reason to fear because it doesn't matter, because perfect love casts out fear. Know who you are. So now let's talk as religion as a savior. It is scientifically impossible to need a savior because entanglement, which means all is connected within the field and there's no separation, there is no hierarchy and there is no intermediary. There's nothing like that. It's all entangled, which has been proven in science. It's all light, and you incarnate into this time in a physical form at a lower level of energy, but still connecting from where you came and where you exist. This is not your home. This is your passing through in this body. Well, why? Why are you here if not for a purpose? So your purpose does not come within the 3D realm. It comes from a higher place of existence. I've had to think about that a lot lately because I've been thinking, I've kind of been holding back. I'm a very passionate person and I do watch what's going on. I'm getting a lot of dreams and everything, but I didn't want to sound negative. But folks, we're in a time like no other time. This is not like the new normal is done. No savior. You are the savior. Figure out who you are and move in that reality. So to live in a narrative of separation, one needs to establish parameters and then to keep it up. Well, they've done that. It's called sin. It's called hell. It's called heaven. They set up fragmented realities and they're all opposite from you, which demand an action from you, which is a contrived method of control, controlling your perception, controlling your mind, controlling what you think, controlling who you are. It's total control. And they will then tell you that science has no place in spirituality. Folks, science has every place in spirituality. Why is that? Because I think the divine mind is sick of us putting spirituality into a religious box. So the divine mind is saying, look up at the stars. Look at the universe. Look at what was created. Look at nature. Look at the entanglement of the consciousness of the planet and of nature, and you will see that all is entangled as one. You don't need any definition, and you will find your definition within, but it will come from essence. So this is one example of the savior complex to disable and denigrate your divine humanity, to keep one tethered to an organization. It does flow down to power and money and greed. Let's face it. I mean, I know there's really good people out there, but if you're a major evangelist and you're worth $350 million and you're pulling people into your church, I would kind of wonder why you're doing that. There's always greed and there's an agenda behind it. So salvation narrative relies on the belief that there is one God, a chosen people to which you must subscribe or suffer the effects of being ostracized or going to hell. Most of us don't believe that anymore, but there's still people that do. So do you know that there's still an overriding factor that you could lose your salvation? It's like God saying, yeah, walk down the aisle, you're going to meet the Savior, but if you do one thing, you're going to lose it, and then you're going to have to walk down the aisle. Hell, before I got saved 5 times from watching the 700 Club when I was at the lowest place in my life. Every time it came on, years and years ago, I would say the prayer, and then I would blow it, and I would say it again. So this loss of salvation is prevalent in Catholics, Church of Christ, Pentecostals, Methodists, and Wesleyans. So that's, what is that saying? Holy crap. What that's saying is that, what kind of God sets you up for failure? What kind of God does that? That's not the God that created you in the essence of who you are. And it's not the way to go. So when one gets lost in the narrative of religion, you lose your sense of self-identity and self-awareness. Now, have I lost my belief in Jesus? Absolutely not, but not the way, diametrically opposed to how the church teaches it. Have I lost my belief in what, as a person, he was maybe trying to teach us on a quantum realm, which I've talked about in past Facebook Lives? No, not at all. There is a beauty in ascended masters and wisdom teachings, and they are not fragmented teachings. They cultivate a wholeness within you and a joy and a peace and a substantial, powerful love that no matter what comes at you, no matter what chaos or distraction we face as we're going into being a new human. Thank you, Dr. K. Oh, and if you want to read the last post that Dr. K wrote on Jesus, and not just believing in him, but believing what he showed us. It was essential. So when one gets lost in the narrative, but what about other narratives? Are there other people trying to show us that they want to be saviors? Well, let's look at the medical establishment. Now, I am not, disclaimer, I'm not saying don't go to doctors. I have an incredible general practitioner that listens to me even when I talk about energy and focuses on holistically what I can do to avoid having to get any worse. She's so positive and uplifting that I leave encouraged. So the medical establishment establishes a narrative of superiority on every level and just blind acceptance of what they perceive as truth. It is fragmented. They only learn some one thing. They don't know how to integrate all that they've learned into a holistic being. So they become the savior and don't, you can, I've heard stories of people who didn't want to get their children vaccinated with everything that comes. I've heard stories of people that wanted home births, and then when they actually maybe got into a little bit of trouble in their home birth and then went to a hospital, was ostracized and made to feel like they were nothing. So in the past years, because of the Beetlejuice that people took, and I'm not judging whether you did or you didn't, they were ostracized. They were controlled and dictated to by a false narrative that the community brought out to make money. And everybody that fought the narrative of them being the savior was denounced as being stupid or not having any credibility. People were banned from YouTube. They were banned from all over. General wise people that were questioning the reality. But no, the savior complex said, believe us and nobody else. And that's still what they abide by today. They still do it over and over. So USA, again, I want to repeat, is one of the countries where pharma advertises from a controlled perspective to the tune of $24 billion. I never saw this when I lived in Abu Dhabi. I never saw this when I lived in Finland. And people that come here, they're amazed. If you watch any amount of, I don't even watch it that much, but if you do glance at it, there's a pill for everything. What about epigenetics? What about believing you're immortal? What about being able to know your body and know what it's telling you to do if it's telling you you need more, but not automatically going in that direction? So the narrative of holistic healing is totally disregarded in favor of a greed savior narrative. My way or the only way. Folks, I am my biology, and my biology, because of an attunement on every realm of my entanglement, will show me what I need. I've seen it happen over and over and over. Let me tell you what. I accidentally tripped about 6 months ago when I was walking by the ocean, and when I tripped, everybody ran up to me, and they were wonderful. They were saying, "Are you okay?" And I said, I think I'm okay. And one lady said, "Well, if you broke something, you'd know it." But I knew that I'd stretched something very badly. So what I did is I listened to my body. And I listened to what it said to do, the heating pad. I listened to maybe taking an occasional something for it. I also listened to my body tell me what to do and what not to do. And I stilled down and I drank tons of water. And I was totally okay within 10 days because of the stretching of the muscles. I am my biology. So the savior complex doesn't only apply to a religion, it applies to so many institutions in the United States that don't give a crap about you. So what about government? This is what I wrote. Daddy or mommy is the savior, yet in reality, behind the scenes, they are controlling and they're manipulating power with very few telling the truth, and they don't care one bit about us. You think they do? You think that someone's going to get in office and they're going to shift this? Folks, read the World Health Organization documents. Read the World Economic Forum document. Read about the new global leaders who want to go a separate way. Read about what just happened in France in their election. It's all the same story, folks. There's no savior coming. You are the Savior. And at some point, you're going to need to stand firm in the essence of who you are, in humility and grace and wisdom. And you're going to say, no more. If I die, I die. If I live, but I will not compromise the essence of my divine humanity anymore. So the level of lies coming from the government in every realm, but the way one discovers this is to listen to educated truth. So what do you think's going on? They're just, let's say you're a young mom. Like again, you're working, you're trying to make ends meet. Prices are rising, even though they tell us they're not. Prices are rising. And so the Savior comes in and is trying to tell you that we're going to fix things. And you believe it without any level of critical thinking and searching the answers out for yourself, because the answers are out there, but they're not exposed like the mainstream media or the mainstream alternative media. You have to seek out these people who are speaking truth. And when you learn the truth, it's going to blow your mind, because you're going to see you've been lied to over and over and over for decades. And it's this distraction is coming to make you feel like there's a Savior. It keeps us distracted, arguing, tribalism. It's not coming, folks. There's no Savior coming. The Savior is within you. So what about the Savior complex? Let's talk a little bit longer. It's built on duality and locality. Well, there's something in the quantum field called non-locality. So the waves and the particles, they're one. And how they manifest is through observation. We've heard about the double slit experiment. So they manifest. So the potential is in the field, and it's all in the field. So what does that mean? It relies on cultivating within yourself, not outside yourself. That's where heart and brain mind coherence comes in. So you do not take your cues from the 3D realm. Tech wants you to take your cues from the algorithms. What you think, they'll put on your Facebook page, and they'll put on everything a million times over, to where you're believing, oh, it's such a coincidence, I just believe that. No, it's the algorithm trying to control your thought. So when the Savior complex is built on duality, science totally leaves that out. They don't even want to acknowledge that if you really look at quantum physics. So quantum realities clearly and metaphysically deny the approach of duality, which means that I look outside myself. I am to be in harmony within myself in the midst of my humanity. I am so tired of the super spiritual nebulous BS. I'm tired of it. Why? Because it doesn't help the person that's struggling. It doesn't help the person living in their car. It doesn't help the person struggling to make ends meet. We are human, folks. Our spirituality is based on our humanity. You don't check out. You're not so nebulous that you talk about ascending and rising and love and light. I am human. And when I leave this house and I see people sleeping on the ground all over the place, and I see a government in California that doesn't give a shit about it, my heart aches, because there is a solution and there's no Savior coming. It is time for people to take note of the lies and do what you can with what you have where you are. Greg Braden says it, but I believe it was a quote by Teddy Roosevelt. Do what you can with what you have where you are. I won't listen to the spiritual BS anymore. It turns me off, because the energy is one of negligence, like as if spirituality is going to be your Savior, like somehow you're going to get out of all this. We're not, folks. We're the answer to all the situations, but there is no need to fear. There is no fear, because you are who you are. So all is light, and in that light, there are varying frequencies in which we manifest our humanity in our divinity, to rise and ascend within truth, within insight, within wisdom and creativity. All is within. And as you rise in frequency through meditation, through breath work, through grounding and more, you ascend into an alignment with yourself that may be directing you from a higher place, maybe outside of time, however you want to say it, because you did not come here separate. You're here, there, you're everywhere. You're manifesting right now in a body, but you're not just getting your cues. You have a consciousness inside which is emulating from a place outside of linear time, directing you in your creativity in time. You are entangled with a greater essence, with a greater mind. You are entangled in time. Man, folks, I've denied the fact that I'm a warrior. I love deeply, and because I love deeply, and because I care deeply, I have held back for so long. Even when I was in ministry, in prophetic ministry, the reason the churches had me? They had me because they knew I wouldn't BS. I was going to look at the church, and I was going to give the message that would enable them to grow at that point. Sometimes they liked it, sometimes they didn't. So then with everything that we've gone through, I slid through the other way, and I thought, well, am I going to offend people? Am I going to be always negative? No, I'm not negative, because I know that we are in a time of chaos. That is not debatable for me. But I do know that there is no fear in perfect love. And as you rise in perfect love, you're going to increase the frequency of your energy. It's so obvious. So in the coming days, I want to speak more about this and lay another foundation of what it means to be light, what it means when you emulate that light. So to rise and ascend within truth and insight, you rise through, I meditate, but it doesn't mean I always follow a set path of meditation. Sometimes I just sit by the ocean. I take my journal and I write whenever I'm called to write. And I know that I am entangled to learn at a greater measure. And then I follow my intuition. Do you know how much intuition has been denigrated into woo-woo, or it not taken truly as important? Because it can't be seen, it can't be heard, it can't be touched. Now, granted, you rise and you mature in intuition. I mean, as you learn to listen to your intuition, sometimes you have to shut off the ego and get the ego healed. Let me tell you what I do. When I'm going to write something and I know I need an answer for something, I know subtly right now within myself to wait. So when I came to do this today and I was wondering, why am I doing this? Because I want to be free to be me. I don't want to be that spiritual anymore that denies everything in favor of love and light and all this nebulous banter back and forth. There is healing available to us. So as I start to write, I've learned now there's a subtle flutter within my essence. And I wait for that flutter, that movement of energy, because if I just say, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to get an answer, well, we all have egos that could write anything. How do I know it's true? But I have learned over time to breathe and to sit, and suddenly the ego gets pressed down, and what rises up is an intuition feeling, an intuition reality that I'm going to follow. And that is the essence of my being. And that, folks, we need that in the days ahead and now. We need to know what to do, where to go, when to go, because the outward atmosphere is going to get a little crazy. Like I said, I listened to the Inspired Channel, Frank Jacob, John Peterson, and the Arlington Institute. I listen to it, a lot of incredible people, but every single one of them says we are uplifting to a whole new reality, and there is no fear. We're going to make it through. So in separating myself from religion, I disentangle from needing anything that cultivates separation in my belief system except what originates within me. Because what originates within me will link me and resonate with other people that will also speak truth into my life, will resonate within what videos to watch or what books to read that are truthful and that are good for me to grow. This flows, and I'm going to say this every single time because I believe there's no other way. This flows from inner silence, and it flows from ascension in grounding to discern the truth amidst the lies. Let me tell you something that's going to happen. Some things are going to start to be exposed that are going to be so unbelievably crazy to people that they're not going to be able to handle it. Why is that? Because they've entangled themselves in a narrative that it's going to seem so outrageous and so out there that they're not going to be able to see that there's truth in it because they're so used to listening to a controlled narrative. Well, I don't think anything's crazy anymore. I believe that ascension, only takes place in grounding. If nothing else, Jesus showed that. If nothing else, a lot of ascended masters showed that. They didn't get out of here. They were put in time to manifest the supernatural, the quantum field within time in the essence of who they are. So let me finish with this. Deconstruction and reconstruction. In the process of disentangling from religion and all the beliefs that I used to believe in, I am a mover. I'm a leader. I'm a mover. I don't want to stay stuck. I don't want to make a focus on deconstruction. Other people can do that. That's good. They're the bridge. I get the people that have crossed the bridge, and now I want to expose them to greater truths and challenge them to be courageous and to be brilliant. So even though my deconstruction, I can look back and I can get angry at a lot of things. I can get resentful, but I don't. And if I feel it, I keep moving forward. I don't spend eons of time on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube complaining and bitching about where I came from and how it was so horrible. Folks, if you do that, then you're still back there and you're no different than the ones that you left. Deconstruction means the integration of everything you faced. Integration is all the parts coming together to create the whole. You should be grateful and thankful for every bit of thing you went through, because what is happening is an amalgamation into a new birth now. So I do not denounce or decry where I came from. If somebody confronts me on it, it's their truth. It's not mine. Nor do I denigrate. I'm trying to speak truth, but I'm disentangling myself from all of that, and it's time to speak about it. So I deconstruct, but I don't make it a landing platform just to find another belief system to attach to. And then I reconstruct. Now listen carefully, because I will end with this. I've been saying this within myself for 1 year, and I'm going to say it slowly because this is key. When you reconstruct who you are and you're leaving so many things behind, you may find yourself for a while with no sense of identity, no sense of movement. Don't leave that place. We're so used to being told a narrative of what success is, what movement is, how we spend our days, how we do this, why we do this, when we do this, that we are unaccustomed to silence and feeling like nothing. But nothing isn't insufficiency. Nothing is a grief. It's a normal grief that you're leaving behind what needs to be left behind. And when you reconstruct then into being you, you cannot ignore everything you've gone through. I've not talked about some of the crap I had to put up with in my life. You know, when you're 70, you got a lot that you've gone through in life. If I was bogged down in a deconstruction of everybody that's hurt me and every lie that's come at me and everybody that's rejected me and everybody that's come against me, I would never move out of that phase. But I'm reconstructing, looking at the experiences, I'm integrating them, putting them all together into a whole, into a new birth, and what results, I'm a sovereign, self-governing individual. That does not mean alone. It does not mean pride. It does not mean independence. What it means is that, again, my intuition will lead in the way that I'm supposed to go and who I'm to connect with. So integrate all you have gone through into a higher awareness of who you are in birthing a new you. So thank you for listening. I appreciate it. Take what you need and leave the rest. What was something that was said to you that you can challenge? Because the underlying flow of all this is that I do believe you're brilliant. Why? Because I never believed I was, even though I have the degree, I have the science, I have the math. I just got a new Mac and I love the technology. I'm learning it, I'm growing. I'm so in the midst of everything. So why did I feel like shit? Because of the integration within me and all the fragmentation where I was measuring myself by the standards of what was out there, and that will never help. I had to be still in times of gratitude, and I had to be thankful for everything I walked through, and I had to know that I had to set up beautiful boundaries within myself that said, no, you can't go any further. No, but I don't have to prove myself, because when you have nothing to prove, you have nothing to lose. And thank you, Sandy, from saying that to me 30 years ago that I believe. Y'all have a great day. I need a glass of wine. Love you guys.